Hello there, and welcome to my vlog of the fourth week of November 2021. And I was planning on doing my usual bit of news and then a BattleTech video today, but I've changed things up at short notice because we had some pretty big retail news drop. So I'm actually just going to concentrate today on the retail and the future of BattleTech retail going into 2022. I will do what I was planning to do today next week, more than likely, because I don't think we're going to get any more retail news really before Christmas now. I'd be very shocked if we did anyway. So yeah, I can get back to kind of the usual schedule then. Also, I was on holiday last week, so there was no video last weekend. So we're now kind of in the straight run to Christmas. So I'll just keep doing like one video a week from here on out until Christmas. And the news is really quite good, although I can imagine there's some little bit of panic amongst some people, but I'm hopefully going to try and put that panic out of your mind because I think the overriding news here is very, very good. If you've kind of been keeping up with retail developments by Catalyst and by independent hobby stores, I think there's a lot to take faith from here. But there's also something that's quite scary has happened today as well. But I'll just document what happened to me this morning. So some of you may be aware, I actually handed my notice in from my job nearly 2 months ago now. And I was on gardening leave. I'm now off gardening leave, so I can basically do some work again. But it's all consultancy work. I don't work for an employer anymore, just do my own thing. And when I came back off holiday on Tuesday, a firm out in Asia, a law firm out in Asia, asked me if I'd do a consultancy with them on basically very, very early this morning to suit their time zone. So I was up this morning at about 4:30 in preparation for a call that was going to go on at 5 o'clock in the morning. Such is the lot of global consultant. Sometimes you've got to do that. So I was prepping this call. I was getting ready to log on, go and speak to their partners, whatever, and got an email from Catalyst saying we're doing a big drop today of all the kind of Wave 2 stuff, which I kind of knew about. I'd seen signs that was going to happen, and I think the way that they'd phrased it, I think that it was expected. Obviously, it's Black Friday in the US. That's a big retail event. But the email that I got was look, we're a couple of hours away from dropping this, so get ready. They did it at midnight at West, is it West Pacific? I never remember that. Basically, Seattle time. So that was 8 o'clock in the morning for me. Luckily, I'd managed to kind of get through my consultancy stuff by about 7 o'clock in the morning. So I then was able to kind of see it happen live. And in the initial, it was easy. Well, my initial experience was at 8 o'clock in the morning. I tested this. I went on the website. It was fine. It didn't crash. That's a good sign, obviously, because it means they've got a half decent website in the background. But also, because they're a really small company, I would imagine it wouldn't take much to crash their website. So it also means that there aren't thousands of people going on there to kind of do fire sales, which is a good thing because I don't think that's very good for their community at all. If the level of traffic that they were having was just breaking the website, and then people couldn't get what they ordered, and it lead to a lot of problems and disputes. And it occasionally happens with gaming. I mean, I think Games Workshop have this happen sometimes if they do a limited release product. Doesn't seem to have happened with Catalyst though, and I did check over the course of about 30-40 minutes. I kept going back and refreshing just to have a look. Now, this is where the scary bit comes in. Before I started recording this video, so we're now at approximately 4 o'clock in the afternoon UK time. They have sold out of everything they put up there, apart from... I'm speaking specifically about Innosphere here. They do have quite a bit of clan stuff left if you're interested in clan stuff. But for the Innosphere stuff, which I think's the gauge of BattleTech, because that's the most popular thing, everything but one of the force packs was sold out, and the only force pack they had left the last time I checked was and let me get this name correct, That was the support lance. So that's the one with the Cyclops, the Thug, the Dragon, and the Spider. Everything else had gone. It was, yeah. I mean, I am not surprised, but I don't think it's as bad as everybody thinks, because I think what everyone has this assumption of now is, oh, they said, what was it, like 3 months ago, they were going to get 7,500 reprints of each of these box sets, approximately. Some got more, some got less. And they've all sold out. What are we going to do? Where are we going to get our Mechs from if we don't have what we need? Well, I have a feeling that they are like, and I think I've said this previous, I think they are staggering on their own website what they're putting out there. For instance, they may have put like, and I'm completely guessing here, I have no insight into this whatsoever. It's just an instinct thing I've got from like demand over supply and looking at that objectively. I would imagine this morning they put hundreds of things up for sale as opposed to like tens of thousands. I think they've done that for the very, very simple reason that Catalyst are a relatively small company, and they I think they know if they put like 7,500 products up for one, for one of the Inner Sphere Force packs, you might plausibly get some super fan going on there and buying like 100 of them. You might get stores going on there and buying loads of them. Now that's great because you want to sell products, but the main problem is with that, if you're a small company and you're in the lead up to Christmas and you're going to try and shift these as quickly as you can, you're then probably asking a handful of people to go and like wrap and post thousands of packages in like a few days period. I think they've probably got that in their mindset of, okay, we can probably deal with X amount of demand with the staff that we've got, so that's what we'll focus on. I also think that has a really good secondary point of, if they are, which I have a feeling now but I'm not sure, I'll split this little thought into two. The first is that they've got like their own warehouses where they're keeping things back that they can like edge next year, so they might be able to put some releases out in January, some releases out in February, some in March. My other thought is that they've actually sold everything, but it's all gone to the local hobby stores. And I hope it is that one. Because if it is that one, then you should be able to get Catalyst product for a good period of time, maybe like a 2 or 3 months or something like that. It will sell out quickly. I can categorically tell you how quickly it sells out, because recently I bought some stock, some Catalyst, Wave 2 stuff, from a hobby store in Sheffield in the UK, and I think they put up about 20 force packs of, let me get the name right here. It was the Striker Lance, so that's the Blackjack, the Wolfhound, the Panther, and the Jenner. And they've also got the Urban Lance as well, which is the Victor, the Hunchback, the Enforcer, and the Raven, which I personally think is the best lance pack that they do. I think that's the one that you can just play out of the box. They had 20 of the Striker pack, and they've had, I think it just says 10 plus of the Urban Lance pack. The Striker ones sold out, like all 20 of them sold out in like 5 days. I know because I got a couple of them. So I kept like just checking it, and it just kept edging down and down until I thought, yeah, I really want more of those. I want more I basically want more Jenners. I love a Jenner. The Urban Lance is still there, but that literally came out on like a pre-release yesterday. But you can get them mailed. I think it's a bit. I think they might have like not updated their website yet, but it seems like you can get that pre-order. But it does say the pre-order's like the 25th of November, and it's still on pre-order. So I don't know if there's a problem with them getting it or whatever. But it is there, and they're a good firm. I've used them before. They're called the I think the Wargaming Emporium, something like that. If you're interested, they seem to have quite a bit of BattleTech stuff, so that's good, especially if they're in the UK. If you are in the UK, sorry. Now, again, why I think this is overall a good news story is because either Catalyst have sent this out to market already to the third-party hobby stores, or they're holding a little bit back, because I simply can't believe that they sell out of 7,500 lance packs in, 5 hours? It won't be that many, because obviously they've been staggering some of these anyway, so they've had things up on the site now for some time. I think it was maybe 3 weeks ago. I think that they put like the first like lance packs and the clan stars up there. But they do sell out quickly. But we don't have numbers. I don't have numbers. I would imagine that only the management in Catalyst know what's going on there, and that's fine. I understand why they don't want to make that public. But what I'm going to do now is just read just one paragraph. I'm not going to go on forever here from the Clan Invasion Kickstarter page. They put a new comment up yesterday, like it was like a thank you note for an happy Thanksgiving note. But the interesting thing for retail is this paragraph here, which is Black Friday, Cyber Monday holiday sales. These terms are awful. Like Black Friday and Cyber Monday, dreadful. Hate them. It's something. I mean, I love America. Like I love American things. I love American music. Americans always classify themselves as like Anglophiles. I'm like a Yankophile. Whatever you want to. I don't know how you do, if that's even a thing. But yeah, I've just got a real affinity for all things American. It's why I prefer BattleTech probably to things that Games Workshop put out, because BattleTech's a very like American gaming system. Anyway, what I was going to say there is I'll take everything American apart from these two god-awful terms. Black Friday, Cyber Monday, you can keep that nonsense. Horrible, nonsensical retail shenanigans of people beating each other up in stores to get a television. Horrible. Anyway, I digress. So I'm going to read it from the second paragraph there, which is as product continues. So as product continues to arrive in preparation for moving out into your local hobby and gaming stores, so that's confirmation they have sent some out, we've also been cleaning up the various warehouses, setting aside anything needed for our small list, 350 backers who are part of Wave 2.5, while refreshing the Catalyst Games Lab store wherever possible. Sometimes it's a few dozen items, sometimes it's a few hundred. This weekend we are doing a wide restock from our Foundlings and Overstock, giving all BattleTech fans an opportunity to do any final holiday shopping. So that's what we saw this morning. That's 8 o'clock UK time this morning. A lot of this stuff went live on the site. Now most of it is gone. So yeah, that's why I actually chose to do this video slightly later, because I didn't want to do a reactionary video at the time, only for it to sell out in 2 hours, because that would obviously date this really badly, and it would just be not false comms, but it would be kind of misinformation for anyone, like if they watched this tomorrow, for instance. Instead, I wanted to see what happened, and then I can be like, okay, yeah, it sold out really fast. Or to come on and be like, oh, there's still quite a bit left there. There isn't quite a lot left there. Some clan stuff. I believe they've also got I did see they had again, this was half an hour ago, it may have all sold out now. They did have the Inner Sphere support lands. They had some of those left in stock, but I believe that was the only Inner Sphere box that they had left. Anyway, I continue. At least 50% of all remaining overstock will be updated in the store by Friday afternoon. The other 50% will be spread out over the following days. That's a really important point. So if you haven't missed out today, Cyber Monday, I think there'll be more things on there then, so you can actually go and pick things up on Monday if you're interested. Be quick though, because we've seen how quickly this stuff sells out. Will this be it for the year? Likely not. There are a few more Force Packs arriving in December. That's a good sign, because when, 3 months ago, they announced the stats and the figures for how many reprints they were getting, they did say that it was going to come to them all in November and December. So they might have had, for want of a better term, wave one of this delivery. They might be getting a quarter of that stuff, coming through to them over the next few weeks, and then they can hold that back in reserve, or they can give that to local game. Well, not give it to. They can sell it to local game shops to get out to the wider public. So that's good. That's for me. That's very good news there. So I'll read that paragraph again. That sentence again. There are a few more Force Packs arriving in December, a few hundred of which may sneak into the store before the 13th. We hope as well, Catalyst Games. Other than that, though, yeah, this is it. Until next year, where we've already ordered a best ever 25,000 unit reprint of A Game of Armoured Combat, which is brilliant, because that's the one which will get people into the game. I mean, Catalyst know what they're doing. I don't need any more evidence. I know they've had hiccups and there have been problems, and there's some people that don't have the Wave 2, and that's really unfortunate, and nobody wins out of that situation. But it shows me that they know what they are doing when they are getting a mass reprint of the core game, because that core game is fantastic. The mechs are fantastic. You can play it out of the box. The rule system's really well written and easy to understand. That potentially is another 10,000 players in BattleTech, which is exactly what we want. What you will find with that, obviously, that, and I might even do this, like I might go and buy another one just to get more catapults. You know, I do adore my catapults and I love those new resculpts. So, you know, you might have like people doing things like that. But overall, if people are using that to like buy, if they've got kids for their birthdays or whatever, and it's like, there you are, here's a game of Armored Combat, you can play that right out of the box. That's amazing. And to me, that's always been a massive failure of this entire undertaking, that you just can't get anyone into it because there's no real starter set. There's no real, I mean, I've spoken about this like ad nauseum now, but you know, like if you try to say to someone, oh, this is a really cool game and it's got a lot of lore and I think you'll really like it. Oh, by the way, you can't buy the miniatures and the starter set has been sold out for 8 months. That's a tough sell. It's a really, really tough sell, especially like when you've got competitors in the market like Games Workshop, where a kid might just say, well, why don't I just go buy the new variant of Kill Team where I can still get that anywhere? I mean, you literally cannot argue with that. I'm like, if you want to get into the hobby, I'm not going to ask someone to wait 8 months for a reprint. But 25,000 is just an absolute godsend. I mean, that means that that's probably going to be stocked at that level, 25,000. That's going to be stocked in most hobby shops. Hopefully, it'll be on Catalyst Games. They might be selling a couple of thousand on there in stock, and they've just got, you know, loads that they can like put out as and when people buy them. They're also, I'll just continue with this now. So they've also got a Clan Invasion reprint, and soon what will likely be a third printing of all Force packs, and that's the golden egg in this little update here. That we knew we were getting the second one. That's the one that they're putting out now. They did say ages ago they'd get that hopefully from China in November and December, and that's obviously come through because that's all now on the website. But a third printing is just such good news. I will make a very controversial point here, and I've kind of been hammering this for quite a while, but I'll solidify this point now. I hope they don't do a Wave 3. And I hope they put all their energy into doing reprints. And I know that's not going to be a popular opinion because there are so many mechs that are still like shelved and don't have resculpts. I can live with that because I think they've done pretty much all the sculpting of the main stuff they need to do. There are certain ones I'm disappointed that we didn't get a resculpt for, namely the Kintaro and the Vindicator, two of my favourite mechs. I am more than happy to use the old sculpts because the old sculpts are actually quite good for both those mechs. You might not feel the same way. You might think, well, my favourite mech doesn't have a resculpt and its old sculpt is terrible. That's obviously not very good. But if a third printing means that they can go and get another, whatever it is, between 5,000 and 10,000 of each Force pack, and it means that 2022 is the year of BattleTech and things just start to filter down into the retail market, second-hand sales as well, which is good because that brings the prices down. If you know that you can get like, you know, either like, let's say you're missing like a random blackjack to complete your Force, if you know that you can go on like eBay and find someone probably selling the blackjack for like £8, $10 or whatever, you're like, oh yeah, that's fine, I'll just do that. That makes the game really accessible. And those second point sales, in my opinion, are actually very healthy for the game. And I know that the kind of upper echelons of BattleTech feel that way as well because they don't tend to kind of clamp down on things like 3D printing as much as other companies do. They actually actively push the notion that BattleTech is a miniatures agnostic game, so you can use like bottle tops to play if you want to. I think that's heresy. I'd never do that, but you know, from my very privileged position of you know, having a lot of models and a lot of terrain, if you're just getting into the hobby and you're a bit limited on cash, then if you just want to kind of pick it up and play around with the gaming system, that's a great way to do it, and you can do it for free. I mean, you can basically download some maps, I think most of these things are kind of gifted by Catalyst or official sources anyway. And you can use if you've got some like toy soldiers hanging around, you can use those as like mechs, just as like proxy. Get a get a grasp of the rule set, see if it's for you, see if you like it. Awesome, that's really really good way to kind of go from here. And I like that as well. I like that that is an option, a viable option in the first instance. But I think as you get into BattleTech and you see how cool the mechs are, you can then gravitate towards the actual official products, or even if you're doing 3D prints or anything like that. Personally, I don't have any 3D printed things apart from terrain. I do actually have some 3D printed terrain, but that's very different, especially in BattleTech, because there's no official terrain. So you get 3D prints, or you use whatever else you can find, or you don't use terrain. It's not like in certain gaming systems where it will all come packaged up and it's all official. For the actual mechs though, and I'm quite traditional when it comes to like copyright and trademarks, like Catalyst, this is a bit of a boring topic, but Catalyst and it's actually Tops, who are they own the license to BattleTech. They sorted out all the legal problems, so they no longer have a situation where they were in this like perpetual state of purgatory with a lot of the BattleTech mechs because they didn't have the rights to use them. It's all about when BattleTech was first a thing. Somebody bought the kind of designs to the mech from a Japanese company, but the Japanese company had sold them to someone else in the US, and it was a whole mess. And it's plagued BattleTech for years and years. But the reason why we have this whole Kickstarter thing over the last few years is because that has been resolved. Ergo, for me, the copyright, therefore, belongs to Tops or licensed through Catalyst. So I wouldn't be comfortable using anything that's not their official product because I want to funnel money back into the game that I love, and I'm not comfortable giving that to someone who's doing 3D prints. I don't have, for want of a better term, a collective opinion on this. I'm not going to sit here and denounce anyone who dares to use 3D printed models. I think even Catalyst are pretty cool with that, as long as it doesn't actually infringe on the designs that they've done for the actual Kickstarter, which is completely understandable. They're far nicer than I am. I would be very much on the Games Workshop side of the fence here, which is any copyright infringement, I'm going to come and get you. I'd do it smarter than Games Workshop. I wouldn't be going to close down YouTube channels, for instance, but I would be very protective of my IP, but each to their own, and I know that that's not a popular opinion, so whatever. It's just how I feel about it. I think if they do the courtesy of doing the designs for us, I'll do them the courtesy of buying the designs from them. That's just how I'm quite old school with that. So, yeah, that's all that I think is incredibly good news. Still no word on the Wave 3. It is coming. We all know it's coming. The fact that they've listed their Wave 2.5, we all know what that means. There's only one way. If you've been in that Wave 2.5, I think it's inevitable there is a Wave 3 coming. I hope it's limited. I just hope they don't do what they did on Wave 2. I think Wave 2 should be seen as their, the massive project that they did, the huge thing. I'd like to see Wave 3 very streamlined, small, limited. I'd also, if I had a choice on this, I'd also like to see a little bit of a smarter retail option in how they actually sell the mechs. And I shall give you a for instance, and I've already cited to this, but I was really I was kind of doing a little bit of a restructure on my project management of BattleTech, and I really wanted another Jenner. Right, I was like, I need another Jenner. Even though I have quite a few Jenners, either coming or I've got them on the shelf already. I just needed another one, and I had to go and buy the Striker Lance, which has got an extra Blackjack, a Wolfhound, and a Panther in it. Which I think I've figured out where I'm going to put them in the other forces, but it's kind of lopsided things a little bit, and I'm going to have to go and make some of the other forces up with old figures probably, because I do want. I've already said this. I love the Kintaro. and I would like a couple of Kintaros, and they're not actually available yet on the new sculpt. So I've had to go and get a couple of Kintaros from Relpartha to kind of make up the shortfall, because I'm very organised. If you've watched previous videos on me, like showing my Excel sheets, I've got everything listed. I know where everything is in my army. I know everything that's painted. I know everything that's coming to me in the future. Got to be organised, otherwise you basically end up spending far too much money. And I'm a Yorkshireman, and I'm tight, and I don't like spending too much money. So, anyway, long story short, on the striker on the lance striker lance situation, I was thinking then, like, one thing I think that they've not done, which I think they really could do, is switch these force packs around a little bit. So use the same sculpts. You don't have to do anything different, but do it. A good example is do like the Karita lance, right? Because that's what, not directly related to the Karita. I wanted a Jenna for something else, but it got me thinking, or in that mindset of, yeah, sometimes, like, what happens if you only collect Karita and Free Worlds League, and you want, let's say, like, you just want a force that's like narrative specific, so you literally just want Panthers, Jennas, Dragons. Remodel the retail lance pack slightly, so that, and I'll give you a good example. You could do this very easily. You do a Thug, a Dragon, a Jenna, and a Panther, and call that Karita lance, because that's exactly what it is. And do maybe 2 or 3 lances for that, because there'll be other mechs that, that the Draconis Combine use as well. You could do that for all the Inner Sphere powers. And you don't have to do anything, and do a little bit of box art design, and get like the factory to, instead of putting them all into these box sets, when they've done X amount, you switch it around to do these box sets. And I think it has like the added, or the big advantage of, like, I'm thinking here from like a commercial point of view, you are streamlining then your market, so that you're saying to people, if you want to collect Karita, you have to get 8 of these boxes, right? That's whatever it is, $25 each, whatever. So you're talking, potentially $200 to do that. Now, for any gaming system in the world, if you said, oh, you can get an entire force for or a really good level force that you can either play like Alpha Strike on a massive table with, or you have lots of choices. If you're playing classic BattleTech, or if you just want it to look really cool on the shelf because you want like the Karita, shelf extraordinaire, just full of the black and red, then you can spend $200, get say 8 of these lance packs, and there are 2 different types. So there's the one which is the Thug, the Dragon, the Jenna, and the Panther, and then there's another one that's related to the Karita with 4 other mechs in there. Do the same with like House Steiner. So you can do and you've even got the marketing tools there for you that the community have created. So very famously, people talk about the Steiner Scout Lance, right, which is like 4 Atlases. Now, technically, that's wrong. If they were going to have a Steiner, the Atlas is a mech that the Steiners love, but they're far more into their Zeus. Like, the Zeus is their kind of assault mech of choice. So you could do an Atlas, a Zeus, a Victor, and you could get something like a Cyclops in there as well, because that's a 90-ton assault mech, probably a bit too sophisticated for the old Lyran Commonwealth. But what I'm saying, you put that ridiculous lance in there, call it the Steiner Scout Lance or whatever, and you could probably sell that for more. I mean, it's a specialized thing, right? So you, instead of $25, you'd probably get away with like $30 for that one. I certainly would anyway. Because and the bigger mechs as well, they're assault mechs, so they're naturally, there is more there to them. They're not like if it's for light mechs where they're half the size of the assault mechs. These are big bulky things. They use more plastic, and I don't think anyone would begrudge that, like paying a few extra dollars, because you get the silly Steiner Scout Lance. Keeps the Lyran players happy as well, because if you're a Lyran player, you ain't going to be using locusts, right? I mean, Steiner do have light mechs. Famously, they have the Wolfhound and is it the Wolfhound? Wolfhound. Let me get the name of that. I don't want to get this wrong. I hate getting mech names wrong. Yes, the Wolfhound, and the Commando as well is a Steiner mech. So they do have light mechs, but traditionally they like the heavies and assaults. Likewise, the Davians like their medium mechs. And I think that's for me, that's the branding of the game, right? Like seeing that that Steiner fist or the like the sword and the staff of the Federated Sons. That's like a real that's your branding, and that's what will get people into the game. Like if you are a Fed Sons player and you see that sign on the thing that you're going to buy, you're going to be more like, for me anyway, if I saw that, I'd be like, yeah, that's the lance for me. That's the one that I want. I kind of intimated this already. Like I talked about the urban lance, which is the Victor, the Hunchback, the Enforcer, and the Raven. That to me is a very atypical Davian lance. Now, Raven is a Capella mech, but the Fed Sons do use them. I've got a Raven actually. I've kind of seconded a Raven into my Davian forces. So I was looking through all like the master lists, and the Davians have plenty of Ravens, and it doesn't surprise me at all because the Davians are tactically smart. They're like the absolute opposite from like the Lyrans. They use lighter mechs, but they tend to be more tactically savvy, and the Raven's a real great example of that because it uses electronics to kind of hide the other mechs from the sensors of other mechs. So if that urban lance could easily be called, the Fed Sons. Maybe not the like Fedcom because that's slightly later, and you've got then the added Lyran situation in there. So you probably want like Bushwhackers and Wolfhounds, and if they ever like reprinted things like the Enfield, that'd probably be more like a Fedcoms thing. But the Urban Lance there is something I would quite happily play if I was playing like Davian Fed Sons. And I think that they need to get slightly more creative with that, and again move away from the Kickstarter kind of situation and try to this is going to sound quite horrible, but if you've got a gaming system, and this happens in BattleTech anyway, but you want it that the players are belligerent towards each other in their factions. So if you take like any gaming system, like if you're playing like a World War II system, and you've got a player who just loves playing, I don't know, like the American Pacific Force, right? So it's like it's Marines and it's like Special Forces, and there's maybe some like naval options there. And then they've got a friend who kind of thinks, I'm actually going to play the Japanese forces just to really annoy them. And that's a good thing because then you get that like dynamic where you can play against each other and do real historical like battles and things like that. But that friendly belligerence, that like happy competition is, I think, really like drives hobby, especially amongst men, right? Like if you've got that like, oh, I'm going to go and beat my friend here, and they've got a force and I've got the counter force, and we're going to kind of go at loggerheads. What you don't want is that situation, like which happens at Games Workshop, I'd imagine all the time, where you get to the tournament and everybody's rocking Space Marines. Right, like, yeah, that's really boring. But I think with like BattleTech's like just so tailor made to do this, because you have like complete edgelords in BattleTech who like love playing clans or love Karita, even though they know that like Karita are like the bad guys. They're like the people that will cheer the villains on in movies and things like that, and that's absolutely fine. If you need people like that in the gaming system. I kind of do it to some extent as well because I've got like a real affinity for Capellans, a soft spot for Capellans. Even though I play Fed Sons, they're my faction. I love the Capella Mechs, so and that is what it is. And I will quite happily play them. Like if I'm introducing new players to the game, very few people think, oh yes, I must play Space North Korea. I think most people are like, no, I really don't want to play that faction. They sound awful. I will play them like completely edgelording it to another level and being like, oh yeah, I love the Space Communists. They're the faction for me. Come on, get your noble princes on the field because I'm going to batter you with my evil North Korea space jockeys. So, it is what it is, and it's fun to do that. And I think Catalyst games need to kind of push that a little bit as opposed to just having and don't get me wrong here, the new force packs are amazing, the artwork's beautiful, and I've got no complaint in it. It's just kind of a strategical thing. If I were them, I'd be thinking colour, right? So I'd be like red, Karita, blue, Steiner, which is already there. It's already that ready-made for you. It's got a long tradition. Everyone who's involved in BattleTech knows the colour systems. Have that Lance pack be blue with the big fist on it and 4 big assault mechs under it, and put stupid quotes on there as well from some idiotic Steiner like general who doesn't know what he's talking about. Just make it fun and make it colourful and eye-catching, because that's my one issue with this. Again, personally, like when I get those Lance packs through, they look glorious. I'm thinking retail though. I'm thinking like if you go into Barnes and Noble, which unfortunately I can't do because I'm not in America. I can't even get things delivered to us from Barnes and Noble in Europe, which is really annoying, which means I can't get my Annihilator. I'm still trying to persuade someone I know to go into a Barnes and Noble and pick it up for me, but we'll see. And then obviously ship it over to me. But my wider point is, if you had like, if you're in the Barnes and Noble section, or if you're in like the toy store section of a big, like a Walmart or something, like whatever, and you've got like, it's like a red team, a blue team, an orange team, a green team. That's what, like, if you're talking about new players, about kids, that's gonna I guarantee to you that will resonate to them. I feel slightly like when Catalyst have done all the redesigns on this, they've been doing it for like older men. And I don't mean old men. I mean like men like my age, who know what the mechs are, and we've kind of been into this universe for years and years and years. Oh, well, I had a massive hiatus, but I've known about BattleTech since I was like, 10 years old or something. So, like, I'd love them to kind of get into that mindset, just to take it to that retail next level. Because I would honestly adore to see, like, to go into, not Toys R Us, I don't think it exists anymore, does it? I think it went under. But like a Toys R Us, and see like a little section just for BattleTech with all the colours on there, and like the Kurita, you put the art on there of like the the Japanese like samurai with the like katana, just make it look like super cool and super like attractive. And it's not, I'd be clear about this, it's not about dumbing down the product. That is part of the product, right? Like the Japanese feudalists are the Kurita, so the Draconis Combine. So doing it isn't like, you don't have to make it into like some kids thing or something like that. You can make it look cool and make it look like really appealing, but you can still make it colourful and vibrant, and it's just very clear which faction you like, because that's how kids work, right? Kids will look at that and be like, I like the blue one, or I like the green one, or whatever, and that's how you get them into it. That's why initially when BattleTech was set up, the colour systems are very distinct. It's not like, oh yeah, they all just play in like green, because they're just army units, so it's either green or they're either blue. You get that with some of the regiments, which I don't actually buy into. Like, in terms, if you've seen my collection, which I've showed off on this channel a little bit, I actually paint everything like colour reflective. So for instance, like all my House Marek Free Worlds League are all purple. It's not just purple, there's like different colour schemes on there, but they look purple-ish. The Kurita look red and black. And I do that because if I'm getting new players coming along and saying, what's this all about? I want them to have that experience of, oh, that's one team, that's another team, that's another team. And that's what these teams represent. If you put like your specific regiment on there, or battalion or whatever else it is, yes, that looks cool because you've got it all painted up in your colour schemes, but that's very personal to you, and the only people that will know what they are the people who are really into BattleTech, right? I'm looking at this from a slightly different angle, which is how do you get new people into BattleTech? And I think the IP is very, very strong, and it's absolutely strong enough and fun enough and interesting enough, with things like the Kurita, and then moving into the clans as well, because they're really zany and interesting, and sell them as the bad guys, right? Like if you think about when you were a kid and you went into a toy store, you don't just go and buy all the heroes, right? Like you want the antagonists as well, because otherwise you can't like play with the toy set, because there's nothing to play with. They're all the baby-faced good guys. So I think if I were Catalyst, I'd be looking to try to lower my demographic slightly, and I'm hoping, like I said, I would quite happily forgo Wave 3 if it meant that they could kind of go back to the drawing board, not do like loads of new sculpts, maybe do like limited sculpts, maybe do bring out like things like the Vindicator and the Kintaro, which I'm sure a lot of people want to see. But rather than like just saying, oh, we're going to throw this unlimited thing at it now, where you can go and buy, go in at like, what was it called, Kerensky level, where you're paying $5,000 and you can just get a massive amount of product. Just say to everyone, okay, it's going to be $150, and with that you get some vehicles and some new units, the ones that kind of the the mop up from what we missed in from wave 1 and 2, the things that we wanted to do but we just didn't get really the time or the inclination to do it. Do something like that. Do mercenary units, do combined arms, but just keep it nice and simple, and instead all focus then on retail and how to sell the game to the masses, because that's what BattleTech needs. That's kind of where BattleTech was back in the 90s. It was incredibly popular. My understanding is, and I was too young at the time to realise this, but I'm not just talking about in the UK, because in the UK, obviously, Games Workshop was on street corners. There weren't BattleTech stores on street corners. So, different for us. But like in America, BattleTech was the like premium game. In fact, if you speak to like hobby enthusiasts who are like older than I am, an American, so maybe say that, I mean, I'm 39, so, someone who's like 48 or something like that, I almost guarantee to you that their two intros into hobbying was D&D and BattleTech. It won't have been like Blood Bowl or 40k or anything like that. Those two systems are very American, born out of the like American hobby scene. And BattleTech, just IP was messed up, and it really kind of started to eat itself, as far as I can see it anyway, and I've said this numerous times to some controversy, but as soon as the end of the FedCom Civil War happens, so 3068, it just falls off a cliff, and it's like they're purposely trying to stomp it into the ground because it's just awful. And that's caused a lot of angst and problems. What Catalyst are doing now is trying to fix that, but I think they need to go back a little bit to the whole like the retail message of what they were doing in like the early 90s with the clan invasion, which was to make it colourful and not, like I say, you're not stupefying it, you're not like stripping out all the darkness of the universe, because BattleTech is quite a brutal universe, but just make it so that you can appeal it to the masses while you're still catering to the kind of core audience and fans, and that's really not difficult to do. And I guarantee to you that most of the core fans will love it. Like if you said to the core fans, we're going to make these really colourful red Karita boxes, I'll have 5. I've got a Karita Force. And and I love my Jenna. So like if there's, if those 4 mechs, I'd like the Thug, the Dragon, the Jenna and the Panther all turn up, who's going to complain about that? And even like if you've got kids yourself and you want them to get into BattleTech, it's a hell of a lot easier to get them into it by saying, I know you like, I don't know, whatever, House Steiner or Clan Smoke Jaguar or whatever. Look, here's the actual like lance or star or whatever else it is for that group, and it's like I say, it's the same models. Catalyst don't have to go now and say, we're gonna have to go and get loads of designers and redesign another 40 models. You don't have to do that. Like the vast majority of them there, you just shuffle it around a little bit. Just get into that retail mindset of selling to the masses, keeping it appealing for younger people especially, but just make sure that you keep the like artistic integrity of the universe. Like what you don't want to happen is to go like some things that like Games Workshop have done recently, where I think they've just absolutely like disregarded and disrespected what is their IP, which is just weird to me. I'm like, they've got a really decent thing there and it's well loved. Why are they trying to kind of make it into something that the audience doesn't want? I feel that way a little bit in BattleTech with a cartoon, like the old 90s cartoon. That is, but I always have to remind myself, it's a 90s cartoon to sell toys to kids. That's what 90s cartoons were there for. So I'm not criticising it that much, but just have it in their mind. They don't want to make it too like quirky or funny or silly, which that cartoon does kind of fringe on silly sometimes. It's not. I don't think it's not made to be silly. It's not like massively humorous or anything, but some of like the creative decisions in it just have just aged terribly, obviously. And even at the time, I remember thinking this doesn't look good. So yeah, like you've got to maintain that integrity, but diversify like your commercial portfolio out a little bit to kind of get those younger people in there, especially. That's the key. That's going to be like BattleTech survival. He's going to be getting people between the ages of, let's say, 12 and 25 over the next like few years. If I've got any, like if I've got, I'm of an age now where I've got friends whose kids are starting to get to be, like 10 years old. And this happened to me in the summer. A friend of mine just dropped by to kind of have a cup of tea, and he had his kid with him. His kid came in and had a biscuit and saw my collection and was literally like, I don't want to leave this house. Right? And I said to his dad, I was like, yeah, good luck to you now. I've basically cost you about £3,000 in like gifts over the next 10 years. And he was just like absolutely like starstruck and I've got like a lot of shelving with a lot of hobby on there. And I purposely put it like in my house where you can see it, right? Because I play it a lot and I like it, and it's just like a cool thing. I mean, I've got like these kind of shelving units all over my house with just like things on there, whatever they are. Like, there's the old Star Wars Lego at the back there, but this is just my office. Like downstairs, I've got it, like shelving of it and posters up with the. It looks cool, but. When a kid sees that, he's gone away from that. And I was talking through it with him. He was saying to me, "What's that?" And I was like, "That's Blood Bowl." "What's that?" "That's BattleTech." And I was showing him like the mechs, and I could just see he like the thought process of, "Oh my god, this is amazing." And he was asking all about scale, because obviously I had no idea how big these things were. So I kind of had some little infantry units, and I said, "Well, they're like men, and there's a tank, and there's a mech." And he was like, "Oh my god, they're huge." And then his dad was like at this point like, "Oh no, like I'm screwed. Like I'm gonna have to work another job to pay for this." And I showed him like some of the terrain as well, because I've got quite a lot of the good 3D printed terrain that you can get, and I could just tell that he was like in, and he's in not because if I'd have just put like the grey models up there, not so much. But the fact that there's like when you're looking at like the Fed Suns, the collection of Fed Suns that I've got, they've got that like orange hue. They've all got the decals on there. Doesn't hurt at all either that the new sculpts are phenomenal and really kind of cater to modern audiences. I've got some old sculpts scattered amongst, and I was kind of showing that. I was like the difference between the old like metal models and the new plastic. And I could just tell his eyes were just so focused on the new plastic stuff, which is completely understandable because it's really, really good. Whereas the metal model stuff looks a bit monopose, but I could just see the way that he was looking at it. Like, yeah, okay, this is an IP that, and I had the same. It was quite nice seeing him go through that, because I had a very similar experience when I watched the cartoon. I was like, big stompy robots, count me in, But for him, he got to see it directly, and I think, he's too young for it at the moment, really. But he's a good example. Like if me and his dad plays games as well. And if he and I kind of have a games night, and when he's a little bit older, we'll kind of have him probably over at mine with one of his friends or something, and we'll crack out one of the old like retro games that's really easy to play. Like I've got old classic Hero Quest, classic Space Crusade, all painted up, all ready to go. So I think doing something like that, a really easy game that's easy to learn, and kind of like edge them in then to the more serious stuff. BattleTech is actually a very easy game, though. I mean, for a kid as well, kids pick up things so quickly, like far quicker than old men like me. So they'll probably be teaching me what to do after they've played it like 3 or 4 times. But like you've got to stagger them into it, and I think that's one good thing why like the gaming systems that Catalyst have done and developed, like Alpha Strike, are a really good idea, because you can knock out a game of Alpha Strike within like an hour, whereas classic BattleTech takes a lot longer. If you're playing classic BattleTech with kids, which I've never done, like I've only got like adult friends who play, but if I've got friends who have got kids who are just about to embark on hobby stuff, then I would absolutely like just go like mech versus mech, just so that they've got one sheet and one thing to manage, and then they can be like, okay, fill out the dots or whatever else. Or better still, I'd let them use the app. So I'd give them like a tablet, and they can do the flex thing, because I think kids as well, they've been brought up in this like digital computer age. They can do that, and then they can like look at the board, and there's like that synergy between the two, which I think I'm guessing younger people like. For me, I'm quite happy to do everything analog. Like I've got all the like laminated sheets, but I use flex as well. It depends what mood I'm in. So again, that's kind of what I wanted to discuss there. Really, was the like retail opportunities for Catalyst over the next few months. I genuinely think this is the most exciting thing I've ever seen in hobby ever. Like it's when I look back, and I was out of BattleTech for a long time, but what we've got now, I feel so privileged to see it. I feel so privileged that they've gone and just realised this amazing like universe. They've updated it. They've made it all look so amazing. I mean, just think where we were like 3 or 4 years ago with this, and if you were trying to get new players into it, and you were dealing with like models that were designed 20 years ago, and there was no starter sets anymore. It was so difficult. Now it's like there is a conduit to get people into it, and I just hope and pray that Catalyst focus now exclusively on that retail side of it, and just try to get as many, as we say in England, as many bums on seats as they can in the BattleTech experience. And if they do that, or if they manage to do that, we might find an extra 10,000-15,000 players over the next coming years. And I know there's been a lot of talk about this recently, because a lot of people have been talking about like the 40k exodus to BattleTech, which I still don't believe. Yes, I think that several of these people will stick around, but I don't. BattleTech is so different from 40k. I can't see them, like most of them, really being engaged with that. I think what they'd probably prefer is for their army to be updated in 40k. So let's say it's like an Eldar player, and famously, like the Eldar never get updated. Maybe they do get updated next year, and then the 40k player gravitates back towards, to playing 40k again. What we need to think about in like as a BattleTech community is not necessarily, having people coming in from other gaming systems, though if they do that, that's great. But again, it's how you get people in. You get them when they're in their formal years. If you're playing BattleTech when you're 14 years old, you'll be playing it at one. Like I'm a good example. I played it when I was 14 years old. I then went to university. BattleTech kind of fell off a cliff. So me going to university and BattleTech having a bit of a nervous breakdown, existential crisis, happened around the same time. So we both went our separate ways. But yes, okay, it took me 15, 16 years, but I eventually came back to the hobby. I now even have a YouTube account dedicated to BattleTech. So, it's not something that is difficult to do once you get someone in their formal years, because they will always have that like romantic attachment to it. So they'll always be like, oh, do you remember that day when we had that BattleTech game when I was 13, and it was perfect. Like it was just perfect. And it's like one of the quintessential moments of fun that I remember from my childhood, and we all have those. If you're in hobby, we've all got those kind of memories, and that's what you need to kind of draw upon to get people to be committed players in that IP, and to care about it and want to gravitate towards it, and then get their kids into it as well, and whatever else. So again, I'm just really hoping that Catalyst have that kind of mindset to this, and not just like appeasing old men like me. Broaden it out, be more creative, and let this go to a more diverse audience. Eventually, I guarantee, if they do that, eventually you'll get the video from me like, are they going too far? Right? Like, are they, is it now kind of, and that's inevitably going to happen. Like getting that right on the scales of like your commercial opportunities, over your like core fan base who are always used to a certain thing is always a real tough ask in hobby. You see it. I mean, just look at like the Games Workshop stuff. Like these there are, I see Games Workshop are attacked by all fronts. They're attacked by people who don't like them, who love them. They're attacked by people politically on every single political spectrum. I mean, I find it fascinating that all the extremists kind of agree with each other in the like unified hatred of Games Workshop, and that's because Games Workshop are the biggest. But I think Games Workshop have made quite a lot of tactical errors over the last few years that have kind of allowed all this weirdness in there. I think what they would have been far better doing is just kind of like finding out what the next generation wants and what the current fan base were willing to tolerate and try to tread that line. Instead, it's like it's a very weird dynamic they've got with their fan base. It's like a constant appeasing. It's very, very strange. And I think what it needs there is some real kind of like communication management. Now, that's going to sound really harsh because I'm sure they have like a comms team and a PR team, but they obviously don't, for me anyway, in my opinion, they obviously don't have the ear of the ownership because they should be the ones dictating their strategies on that. And it seems to me like whether it's the investors or the CEO or whoever else is just deciding, yeah, well, I'm going to do this because it's a corporate fad, so let's do it. You need to have someone in your kind of comms side who says, actually, that's a really bad idea because you will alienate this group of people. So do it more subtly and do it more tactfully. And they never do that. So there is that line that you don't want to cross, and you've got to be very, very careful. And Catalyst are going to have to be careful with that now, especially over the next couple of years if it keeps going and going. You don't want to create division in the fan base, for instance. We've seen what that does in Games Workshop. It's horrific. I think it's almost like company ending if you get that wrong. So you want to stay away from all that nonsense. And I mean, I work in comms and I'm quite defensive. I don't mean I've got a thin skin. I mean, I'm defensive in like if I see something that my company are having a problem with, there is a tactic to deal with that, and it usually is like shields up, gun emplacements ready, bring it on, right? Like you can't if you go in with like a weak assessment, or you go in too quickly to like apologize, or you say the wrong thing, or you don't seem in control, people will tear you apart. You've got to have that like real like the energy to kind of just commit to your cause and go for it. And I think Catalyst are more than able to do that. They seem to me like there's a lot of shrewd people, smart people involved in that. What I think they need to gravitate now, they need to stop becoming the gamers for gamers, and they need to start becoming like gamers for selling to retail. And if they can get that right and keep that dynamic, BattleTech will flourish, and in 5 years it will be one of the biggest gaming systems on earth. That's my prediction. I don't see any reason why that won't happen. It's got the history, it's got the universe setting. It's finally solved all its like problems in court. There are certain things with BattleTech that are still holding it back. Like it doesn't look like Microsoft want to print games, which is a slight problem. That's been kind of left to Paradox, but Microsoft still own the computer game IP, I believe. So I'd just like to see either them develop it, bring things out like another Mech Commander, for instance, but I just can't envisage that happening, which is annoying because just think how awesome a Mech Commander would be now. We like all the strategy games that we have, like the Harebrained Schemes BattleTech game is turn-based, but to have like a real-time, like top-down system, we can but hope. Anyway. So I'm going to end it there. I've kind of waffled on for quite a while there, but that's my kind of little synopsis, treatise on retail and the future of BattleTech. So hopefully you found that a modicum of interest in that. Now go forward and buy lots of mechs, because on Monday I think they'll all be going live on the Catalyst website. And again, keep your eye out as well at your local hobby store, because I get the feeling a lot of these are going to start filtering through. They will sell out quickly though. It is what it is. We can't do anything about that. Catalyst can't do anything about that because they don't have an unlimited supply chain here, so they have what they have to work with. But yeah, if you want to kind of replenish your forces, I think now is the time, and hopefully you'll get those before Christmas. Anyway, I will end it here. So have a good weekend, all. And I will definitely do a video next week. Be out between Friday and Sunday next week, and I will have a proper topic to talk about then. So the news on next week will probably be very, very slim, because I don't think there'll be anything released between here now and Christmas. Really, I think this Black Friday thing was the big announcement until at least until the new year. Anyway, I will bid you all a fond farewell, and I'll hopefully catch you next time.